Okay, so today we will talk about multi-carrier modulation. Okay, so why are we talking about this thing, by the way, multi-carrier modulation? Because the OFDM, the very thing that enabled 4G is a multi-carrier modulation scheme. Okay, that is why the thing. Okay, so let us see what is the idea of a multi-carrier modulation. Divides the data stream into multiple substream to be transmitted over different orthogonal. Okay, orthogonal we will leave for the time being. Okay, over different subchannels. Okay, let's not get into this orthogonality now. Different subchannels centered at different subcarrier frequencies. Okay, the number of substreams is chosen to make the symbol time on each substream much greater than the time delay spread, or to make the substream bandwidth less than the channel coherence bandwidth. Okay, less than the channel coherent bandwidth. Remember this. Okay, remember this. Let us see what the graphical interpretation. That means now suppose I have this particular channel. Let me make this thing worse now. Okay, now see here, this entire bandwidth. Okay, this entire bandwidth from here to here, if at all I consider, this variation is not cool. Okay, this change is not cool. This means, what this actually means is, now let me say, let me exaggerate this by taking this particular thing. Okay, say I call this bandwidth. Okay, now say, okay, now I have drawn one frequency response. This is the frequency response of the channel. Okay, this is the frequency response of the channel. This is how the channel is behaving. For certain frequencies, the gain is good. For certain frequencies, the gain is bad. Okay, so such channels are called as frequency selective channels. Okay, such channels are called as frequency selective channels, and this is bad. Okay, such thing is bad. We don't mind that if it is everywhere, if the gain is this much low, we don't mind. Everywhere the gain is this much also, we don't mind. As and when the gain is uniform, represented by just a single constant, we are comfortable. But as and when the variations are occurring, we are not happy. It's called as frequency selective fading. That means the gain is different for different frequencies. How do we tackle the situation? Tackling the situation is by converting this into several parallel transmission. Now say here, if at all I consider this particular range from here to here, as and when I make this gap, as small as possible, this particular thing almost resembles a straight line, right? Okay, so you can see, if at all I see a bigger bandwidth B, different frequencies are experiencing different bandwidth. Now if at all I take a very small width here, so in this particular space, or if at all, as and when this width tends to a smaller quantity, say tends to 0, this segment, if at all I expand, it's going to look something like this, right? Within the particular band. Okay, this is what I want to convert, not me. OFDM wants to convert, multi-carrier modulation wants to convert the frequency selective channel into a frequency flat channel. So how do we do it? We convert a very large bandwidth data, okay, very large bandwidth data into several data of smaller bandwidth, Say for example, so the terminology that is coming to picture here is, which is the terminology, this thing. You see here, the number of substreams you are choosing. Now say there is a channel, and this particular channel here, h of f, is characterized by, this particular channel is characterized by a coherence bandwidth of say BC. BC is the coherence bandwidth. Say this particular channel has a time delay spread. Okay, wait a second. Yeah. Say a particular channel has a time delay spread of TD. That means you send a well-behaved square signal, it's going to get much worse. That means it's going to stay much longer and it's going to spread much longer. Okay, say this is the case. Then what was the rule, by the way? What was the rule? How do we tackle fading? Can somebody tell? If at all I have a channel which is having a time delay spread of TD, then 1 by TD is called as coherence bandwidth. Okay, 1 divided by time is frequency, 1 divided by time delay spread is coherence bandwidth. Now if at all I have to have a transmission which is not affected by this time delay spread due to multipath fading, my pulse width, the bit duration, has to be much longer than the time delay spread. So I would say my bit duration TB has to be, say, much longer than time delay spread. Let me take a number here. Say I want to make my bit duration equal to, say, 10 times the time delay spread. Okay. Now what happens to the bandwidth, by the way? That means if at all I want to convert this particular single bandwidth data, say my bandwidth is this much, I want to convert it into several parallel streams. I want to convert it to several parallel streams. Okay, something like this one. Say I convert it into this. What is the requirement of this bandwidth here, by the way? When you convert this particular thing B, original bandwidth is B. Now say I want to convert it into L parallel channels. So this B divided by L, right? The individual bandwidth of the sub channel, I will call it as BS. Oh, what is this? BS is nothing but B divided by BL, right? This BS is nothing but B divided by BL, right? What is the rule? The rule is this. So conversely, this BS here, the width of the individual channel has to be equal to 10 times the coherence bandwidth. Sorry. 1 divided by 10th of a coherence bandwidth. Okay. 1 divided by 10 times the coherence bandwidth. Okay. That is the rule. That means if at all my coherence bandwidth, say, looks something like this, say this is my coherence bandwidth. Okay. Then the width of the channel has to be much smaller than this. This will be the width of my channel. This will be the width of my channel. If this I am able to achieve, then I have designed a successful multi-carrier modulation scheme. Now, why the scheme should be called as a multi-carrier modulation scheme? Will anybody tell me why the name multi-carrier modulation? Will somebody tell me? Will somebody justify the name multi-carrier modulation? Darshan, use mic and tell quickly. Darshan, Rifa, Leelakshi, Ranjana, somebody take a mic and quickly tell, are you convinced with the name multi-carrier modulation? Chat otherwise. Quickly do it. Somebody respond quickly. Everybody type in a hi, by the way. Almost forgot yesterday to take the attendance. Everybody? Okay. Yes, more than one carrier is used. More than one carrier is used for modulation. Okay, more than one carrier is used for modulation. Now the requirement is now you have how many carriers? Now you see, for this original channel, there was a single carrier needed here in the center. Now for these 4 parallel channels, I need 1, 2, 3, 4 carriers. I need 4 carriers. Okay. And what is the rule, by the way? The rule here is 10 times. If at all my coherence bandwidth is, say, BC, the width of the individual band has to be, 10 times smaller than the coherence bandwidth. 10 times smaller than the coherence bandwidth. Okay, that is the rule. Okay, that is the rule. Say for example, I take this particular case. Say I have this very broad data to be transmitted. Say I have this very broad data to be transmitted over a channel whose time delay spread is something like what should I say? Say let us say the coherence bandwidth. Say the coherence bandwidth. I have a data of bandwidth say 200. I have a data of bandwidth say 2000. Okay, let us take big number. 2000 hertz. Okay, I have data of bandwidth 2000 hertz. The coherence bandwidth of the channel, my data is of bandwidth 2000 hertz. Coherence bandwidth of the channel is say 100 hertz. So can somebody tell me what is the time delay spread of the channel? This channel is characterized by a coherence bandwidth of say 100 hertz. So what will be the time delay spread of this channel? What is the time delay spread of this channel? Will somebody tell me? Will somebody tell me? Somebody give it a try. Let me take two cases here. In case 2, this will be my case 2, where my data bandwidth is 2000 hertz. Let me take case 1, where my data bandwidth is 60 hertz, 60 hertz. Okay, I want to transmit this data on a channel whose coherence bandwidth is 100 hertz. So what do you understand by a channel with a coherence bandwidth of 100 hertz? What does that mean in terms of time delay spread? Will somebody tell me? Take a mic and somebody tell me. Quickly, somebody respond. Darshan, when I say the channel is having a coherence bandwidth of 100 hertz, okay, channel bandwidth of 100 hertz, and I'm taking two cases. In first case, I have a data of bandwidth 60 hertz to be sent. And in second case, I have a data with bandwidth 2000 hertz. Which data is likely to suffer fading? Will data 1 suffer fading or data 2 suffer fading? What do you say? Somebody, Ranjana, what do you say? Will data with bandwidth of 60 hertz is going to suffer fading, or will the data with bandwidth 2000 hertz is going to suffer fading? The channel coherence bandwidth, by the way, is 100 hertz. The channel coherence bandwidth is 100 hertz. Somebody tell me. The rule is, I ask a guy, he tells whether he knows or not, and then we will continue. So somebody tell me. Yes. So which one is, yes, Darshan says the one with 2000 hertz is going to suffer fading. Why? Why the 2000 hertz thing is going to suffer fading? Why? Because this particular bandwidth is greater than the coherence bandwidth. So coherence bandwidth is the width after which the channel becomes frequency selective. Within a bandwidth of coherence bandwidth, here you can see the channel is flat. If at all I take a very small segment, it is flat. So this data 2000 is susceptible for fading. 60 hertz is fine. I can as well send this without any doing multi-carrier modulation. It is still going to work. Okay, it is still going to work. Okay, cool. Now how do we handle the situation here for 2000 hertz? How do we handle the situation for 2000 hertz? How do we tackle this 2000 hertz problem? What shall we do? See, Now, quickly, somebody, you have to do this. What is the rule? I said the time delay spread, the pulse duration TB has to be made greater than 10 times the time delay spread, or the data here B has to be broken into L sub channels. It should be broken into L sub channels. Okay. The number should be such that the number, whatever you are going to get here, let me call it as say BS, whatever is we are going to get here, should be 10 times smaller than coherence bandwidth. 10 times smaller than coherence bandwidth. 10 times smaller than coherence bandwidth. So tell me, how many subsegments shall we break this B into? Total width is 2000 hertz. Shall I change the number? Let me take this coherence bandwidth as 500 hertz. To keep it simple, I will take the coherence bandwidth as 500 hertz. Okay. Now somebody tell me quickly, how many sub channels shall we make this single channel into? How many sub channels shall we break this thing into? 4. Okay. So as per Darshan, it is 4. If at all I break it into 4, then my BS is equal to the coherence bandwidth. This is the borderline criteria. This is the borderline criteria. 35 is for passing. Okay. 83 marks is not going to hurt. 83 marks is not going to hurt. Less than 4. No. It should be made much smaller. The bandwidth should be made much smaller. So when you convert, I break it into 4, what's going to happen? 2000 divided by 4, my bandwidth is equal to 500. Now there are 4 sub channels with bandwidth equal to 500, which is equivalent to coherence bandwidth. I want it to be bandwidth to be 10 times smaller than the coherence bandwidth. 10 times smaller than coherence bandwidth. How do I do it? How do I do it? 10 times smaller. What's the number? 10 times smaller. So how many parallel channels shall I break this into? Yes, West Ranjana. How many? Darshan. I told you it's not an equality. It's much greater than 10 times the coherence bandwidth. 10 times smaller. Okay. Well, this equality, I think I am confusing you, right? So the width should be equal to coherence bandwidth divided by 10. Okay. I only confused you, I guess. Coherence bandwidth divided by 10. That means now my individual bandwidth should not be greater than, my individual bandwidth should not be greater than how much? 50 hertz. Should not be greater than 50 hertz. Okay. That is the rule. So how many parallel channels I should go for? How many parallel multiple carriers do I need? The rule is my individual channel bandwidth. The individual channel bandwidth. Okay. Of course, I only confused everyone, I guess, right? Wait a second. Okay. Now let me start this once again. Fresh and new. Say there is a data. I want to send a data of bandwidth equal to 2000 hertz. Okay. I want to send a data with bandwidth equal to 2000 hertz. Okay. 2000 hertz. Okay. The channel is having a coherence bandwidth of the channel behavior is such that it is having a coherence bandwidth of 500 hertz. The coherence bandwidth of 500 hertz. Okay. So when I transmit this particular data, the rule is my individual bandwidth length, if at all I break it into the single B, I want to break it into say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Say I break it into L number of segments. Then 2000 divided by L, if at all L equal to 4, I get 500. If L equal to 10, I get 200. If L equal to 20, I get 100. The rule is B divided by L should be equal to BC divided by 10. Should be equal to BC divided by 10. That means I don't want to take chance. I want it to be the length of the individual, the width of the individual bands at least 10 times smaller than the coherence bandwidth. Okay, whenever I'm designing it, I'm making sure that it is much more robust. Now tell me, this is the requirement. BC divided by 10. That should be the width of the individual subcarriers. So tell me, what is the number for 2000 hertz? Tell me what is the number for 2000 hertz. BC divided by 10 is how much? 500 divided by 10, 50. This is 50 hertz. That means my individual bandwidth should be equal to 50 hertz. So how many subcarriers do I break this thing into? How many subcarriers do I break this thing into? BC divided by 10 is the width I need. So if at all I break this into, say, 20, if at all I break this into 20 subcarriers, 2000 divided by 20, that is how much? 2000 divided by 20 is 100, right? If at all I break it into 40, 2000 divided by 40 is 50, right? Okay. So if my coherence bandwidth is 500 hertz and I want to have a system which is much foolproof, that means 10 times the fading, if at all I want to handle, then I will break it into 40 number of subcarriers. I break this entire channel into several smaller channels, break it into several smaller pieces. The width of each piece here is not 2000, but how much? 50. How many such pieces am I making? I am making 40 such pieces. I am making 40 such pieces. Okay, understood to a certain extent? Understood to a certain extent? Note this thing down, note the numbers down, work it out. The equality I said, the width of the individual subchannel B divided by L has to be equal to coherence bandwidth divided by 10. Okay, this is the rule. Okay, are we cool? So if at all I want to do this, tell me. Now let us, did you understand, by the way, Ranjana? Note these numbers down, and go through it slowly. Note these numbers down and go through it slowly. Okay, this is how we handle fading. Now let us see the implementation diagram. Remember the numbers, I'm clearing this. Remember the numbers. How are we going to do this? Now see, you get your data. So what is the rule, by the way? We convert the data from serial to parallel, right? We saw this pictorial thing, and I break it into several parallel segment. What is the value of L, somebody, from the previous example? What is the value of L from previous example? 50 or 40? 40. Cool. Okay. Value of L is 40. So when you convert the data from serial to parallel, what has happened is your total R bits per second, whatever, if at all 2000 bits were coming per second, in each of these lines, how many bits you have? Actually, in that line, 2000 bits were being sent per second. Now you have broken it into how many parallel strings? 40 parallel strings. That means the speed has now reduced so that only 50 bits are being sent per second on an individual line here. Now somebody tell me, each of these need to be modulated. Why need separate modulators here, by the way? Why need separate modulators? Because all of them are occupying the same band. They're all baseband, right? It is still baseband. I want to place all these things into a single carrier, and I want to send it, right? Not single carrier, on a single channel. So I want them, this thing I want to be placed here. Okay, here maybe this thing I want to be placed here. This thing I want to place here. So I need modulator. So since the speed is less, I can manage with low frequency carrier. Now tell me, how many local oscillators do you need, by the way, for modulation? These are the carriers. You take a low frequency data, multiply it with high frequency carrier, you send the data. Cool. You can add it. You can add it also. Are they going to overlap? No, they are not going to overlap, because they are all different from each other, right? You can see here, they are all these carriers which are closely spaced but different from each other. How many such carriers do you need, by the way? How many such carriers do you need? Anybody? How many such local oscillators do you need? AFOs. How many do you need? How many do you need? So you need how many of them? 40 of them. You need 40 local oscillators. 40 local oscillators. So a high bitrate stream R with 2000 bits per second has been broken into 40 substreams with only speed 50 bits per second. But there is a problem. You need now 40 number of local oscillators. 40 number of local oscillators. That's the situation when a multi-carrier modulation was preferred. At the receiver, what you have to do, once again you demodulate with the same carriers. Once again you demodulate the same carriers, then once again convert the data from parallel to serial. We are all good to go. Okay, we are all good to go. That is the idea. Actually, when it happened, when thing was proposed, there was no fast Fourier transform. When multi-carrier modulation was proposed, there was no fast Fourier transform. So people thought of using carriers that are not orthogonal but much far away from each other. And what would happen is, since you take a carrier which is square in nature, then you make way for some sort of variation here and there, because your data, if at all your time driven data is square, your frequency is going to be cosine. If at all your time is cosine, your frequency is going to be square. That's why, since you send square bits, they took this particular guard band also into consideration. Because of that, it was not simple. Okay, it will consume some additional bandwidth. It would consume some additional bandwidth. So it was not cool. But then came OFDM and things changed. Okay, so here we are. So when OFDM was proposed, by simply taking the DTFT, by simply taking the discrete time Fourier transform or discrete Fourier transform of the data, what would happen is, the original, if at all I take the data of bandwidth B, if at all I simply take 40 point DFT, if at all I take 40 point DFT, remember those terms, by the way, h of what is the expression for DFT? DFT is given by x of k equal to x of n e to the power minus j, 2 pi by n into kn, 2 pi by n into kn. Remember this, 2 pi by n into kn. These are the values for different value of k. These values are e to the power minus j. This means they are now the entire data is carried by these carriers with the frequency of f0, f1, f2. These are all the values. These are the subcarrier values, and they were such that if at all I take a data of say 2000 hertz of 2k, if at all I take 40 point DFT, this entire data is going to be now represented by the amplitudes of 40 orthogonal carriers. Okay, 40 carriers that are orthogonal in nature. What is meant by orthogonality? What is meant by orthogonality, somebody? That means now I just want to ask you, say I take a data, say there are two lobes here. Okay, say there is this data on a communication channel. First data is on the carrier frequency f1. First data is modulating carrier frequency f1. Second data is modulating carrier frequency f2. Say this is star plus. Say this is star plus. Okay, say this is star plus. This is Z. This is ZTV. Okay, everybody listen now. Now somebody tell me, on your cable there is star plus and there is ZTV. If at all I want to receive star plus, what you will do? If you want to receive star plus only, what you will do to this data? Data is here also, data is here also. What you will, how do you will receive the data? How will you receive the data? If at all I want to receive star plus, how will you receive the data? Somebody, Darshan, if at all I want to receive star plus only, which carrier will I use and which carrier will I multiply, modulate, multiply at the receiver? Let me take you to the receiver block diagram. Now see here. Okay. If at all I want to receive star plus, if at all I want to receive star plus at the receiver, I need to multiply the data with F1. I want to receive multiply the data with F1. Now my data will be such that I multiply F1 with F1, I will end up getting the envelope. And when I multiply F2 with F1, I get simply noise. So when I multiply F1 with F1 only, I get the envelope. When I multiply with F2, I simply get the noise. Okay, that is the rule. So similarly here, when you say orthogonal carriers, that means say I want to pick this particular envelope. If at all I multiply this with F1, if at all I multiply this entire data with F1, what's going to happen? I get this particular envelope, whatever data that is modulating the envelope. If at all I multiply F2 with F1, and if I say F1 and F2 are orthogonal to each other, what will be the product? Will somebody tell me? If at all I multiply F2 with F1, integrate over a period, okay, integration over a period, what do I get? If I multiply F1 with F1, and if the data is orthogonal, what do I get? I get the entire envelope. And if at all I multiply F2 with F1, I simply end up getting a noise. Okay, ideally it should be 0. Something similar was there in CDMA also, right? You had this PN sequence. You multiply the data which has been modulated with the same PN sequence, you get to recover the data. If at all you multiply with some unrelated data, what you get is simply noise. So what happened is, even though these carriers were overlapping, even though these waves were overlapping, since this F0, F1, F2 and all, they are orthogonal to each other, things will be taken care automatically. So instead of having local oscillators where the lobes were spread much far from each other, taking the total bandwidth consumed much larger because of the guard band and the shape of this cosine function, it was not at all bandwidth efficient also. Here, you get the data to even overlap. So the total bandwidth consumed is as per the textbooks, B divided by L. So that's why the entire thing was fun. And how would you do this thing, by the way? To do this thing, you do not need local oscillators. You simply have to take DFT. Now, suppose if at all I had a data with bandwidth of 2 kilohertz and I want to convert this into 40 parallel channels, then how many point DFT do I need to take? If at all I want to have a data which is of bandwidth 2 kilohertz, and if at all the coherence bandwidth of the channel is 500, so that I want the individual pulse width to be equal to bandwidth to be equal to 50, which is 10 times smaller than the coherence bandwidth, then I want to convert it into 40 smaller substreams. To be able to do that, how many point DFT do I need to take? To be able to do that, how many point DFT do I need to take? Yes, Darshan, Neelakshi. If at all I have a 2K data, I want to break it into 40 small pieces, 40 small subsegments. How many point DFT do I need to take? How many point DFT? Y of n equal to x of k equal to x of n e to the power minus j 2 pi by n into k, and those e to the power minus j 2 pi by n into k. That indicates how many orthogonal carriers you are breaking. How many point DFT do I need to take? I need to take 40 point DFT. If at all I take 40 point DFT, it will be broken into 40 pieces. If at all I take a 1024 point DFT, it will be broken into 1024 point DFT. 1024 DFT is a norm, by the way, in Wi-Fi. Your data speed will be broken 1024 points down. Actual speed divided by 1024. That's where you get the resilience to fading in your Wi-Fi. Okay, that's how we get the resilience to fading in your Wi-Fi. These equations are interesting, by the way. go through them, and it indicates why the simple sum was equal to the entire bandwidth, which was not the case in case of conventional multi-carrier modulation. It was not the case in case of conventional multi-carrier modulation. Okay. So now let us talk, how did we actually implement this? How this thing is actually implemented. Okay. So here we are. So what is the rule? What is the rule? What you have to do? Take the data, do the modulation whichever you want, convert it from serial to parallel. If at all I want to break it into 10 parallel streams, convert it into 10. If at all I want to break it into 64 parallel streams, convert it into 60. By the way, somebody tell me, can I break the data into 40 parallel streams if at all I want to use FFT? Can I break it into 40 parallel streams if at all I want to SFFT? Which is better, by the way, DFT or FFT? Which is better, DFT or FFT? FFT is better, right? FFT is fast. I will send a link, okay? I will send a link. Do join, okay? For a moment. Let me end this.